I want you to notice that when the United States enters the war, again, the reason why the United States enters the war is because of Wilson's idealism. The idea that the United States was going to get involved in this war and that the outcome of the war would be that they would depose all of the monarchies. And his idea was that if there weren't any more monarchies, then we could all be happy democratic countries with capitalist economies, and we'd all be happy. And because of that, there wouldn't be any more wars, right? So that's how this came to be known as the war to end all wars, okay? Um, the other idea that he had was that the United States wasn't in the war to conquer, but the United States was in the war to end the war and to bring about peace, peace and freedom, right? The United States is involved in the war not because we want to conquer anybody, not because we want to gain an empire, but we're there because we want to bring peace and freedom. And this is going to set the tone for American foreign policy, for American engagement in the world from then all the way up until now, with the exception of the last 4 years. The idea being that America gets involved in world affairs in order to support democracy, but not for any other reason. Okay, you guys follow what I'm saying? So this is going to be the basis for this idea that we're the Americans, we're the good guys, we're here to help, right? You guys are with me? Questions, comments about all this? Okay, so now what happens is that the German high command is going to recognize that they can't possibly win, and so they'll make a contact with the Americans, saying that they want to make they want to end the war based on Wilson's ideas that are laid out in the 14 points. You can read about the 14 points in the book, but the 14 points are much more agreeable to the Germans than the idea that the French and the British have, which is that they want to crush Germany. So Germany offers to surrender to the United States, but Wilson refuses to accept the surrender as long as the Kaiser is the monarch in Germany. The Kaiser is still in power. So the result then is that the Kaiser abdicates and a republic is formed. And then the United States accepts the surrender of Germany. There's an armistice reached. The armistice goes into effect in the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918. So November 11th at 11 a.m. in the morning, that's the only a.m. there is actually, the peace goes into effect, the ceasefire, and then they're going to negotiate a treaty, okay? One of the most tragic episodes of the entire war is going to be that between the decision, the agreement for an armistice was reached at 6 o'clock in the morning, but the armistice didn't go into effect until 11 o'clock in the morning. And so between 6 o'clock and 11 o'clock, both sides pushed their men in an aggressive way, trying to gain as much as they possibly could. And so I think somewhere like 600,000 men died in the last 5 hours of World War I. Okay, questions, comments about this? And that's why I said this shows kind of the extent of human stupidity. You know, Albert Einstein said there are two things that are infinite, the universe and human stupidity, and I'm not sure about the universe. So anyway, now the war is over, and Wilson is seen by the Europeans as a great hero. So Wilson's going to leave the United States and go to helped to negotiate a treaty at Versailles, which is the palace of the French king outside of Paris. Um, it doesn't. Oh yeah, here it is, right here. There's Versailles. Okay, and when he gets there, he's greeted as a conquering hero. Everybody in Europe loves him, but he made a couple mistakes, and the first one was that he didn't involve the Republicans in his expedition. He left the Republicans completely out of his peacemaking efforts, um, which is going to come back to haunt him in a few minutes, right? But the other thing was that when he got to Versailles, he couldn't care less um, about the um, about the division of what was left of the German Empire. He wanted to implement his ideas of peace without victory. So I picked out three different aspects of that we can think about for a minute. The first one is national self-determination. The idea is that every country should be able to determine for itself how it will be ruled, as long as it's democracy. Right? You guys get it? So national self-determination. Why do you think the Allies wouldn't like that? Think about Britain and France. What are they?
Empires. A lot of different nations under control.
Exactly. So now do you think that the French are going to say, hey, I got an idea, let's just give up our empire in Southeast Asia? Or the British are going to say, hey, it'd be a great idea to just let India go, right? What do you guys think? Or anywhere in Africa, right? You guys follow what I'm saying? So this is never going to become part of the treaty, okay? The other one is the United States is going to lobby, I guess, for unrestricted free trade. What would be wrong with that from the point of view of the Allies? If there was unrestricted free trade, that would mean that the Americans could trade with India or with Vietnam. What would be wrong with that?
That again goes against empire.
Right. What's the whole purpose of having an empire? The whole purpose of empire is to support your economy. And the way that you do that is you control the economy of that other country. You follow what I'm saying? So the Europeans are not going to go for that either. The last one, though, is collective security. All right. Collective security is a counterbalance to the balance of power politics of before the war, because the balance of power politics was supposed to keep a war from happening because neither side would be powerful enough to overcome the other. And that last part was true, but it didn't keep the peace. And so Wilson's idea was, well, rather than having two sets of equal powers, we should just have everybody on the same side. We'll have what's called collective security, right? So that means then that if one country invades another country, or one country threatens another country, they're actually threatening all the countries, because he's saying all the countries in the world should be part of this, what's going to be called the League of Nations, right? Well, let's think about this for a second, because I'm gonna pick some people here. I'm going to pick Ian. You have to be a country. What country are you, Ian? You can pick any country. You're muted.
I'll be Czech Republic because
okay. Ian's the Czech Republic, and Delaney, you have to pick a country.
I think I would pick Switzerland.
Okay, so we got Czech Republic and Switzerland, and Angelo, you're going to be the United States. Okay. Okay. So now, what happens is that we're all in the League of Nations, meaning we're all on the same side, but Switzerland decides to invade the Czech Republic, right? So now when Switzerland actually, all of us in this class we're all countries, right? But when Switzerland invades the Czech Republic, what are you supposed to do, Anita?
We're supposed to help Switzerland.
No.
Sorry, the Czech
Yeah.
Republic.
Exactly. What are we supposed to do, Nay? Nay? What are we supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? You're a country.
You're supposed to protect it, protect your people, rule it,
Which people?
take care of it.
Remember what Anita said. John, what are you supposed to do? You're a
The
country. What do you-
people that, I mean, I guess if you're the ruler, the people that's in your country that's supporting you, I guess.
Okay, but let's think about it now. What we said was that everybody has to support the one that's being attacked. Who's being attacked here? Ian. Ian's being attacked, right? Okay, so if it's Linda, you're the, no, who is it? Delaney. Delaney attacked Ian, right? And so we're supposed to help who? We're all on the same side. Who are we supposed to help? Constantine, who are we supposed to help?
Both.
We're supposed to defend.
Whatever country the United States has a pact with, we're supposed to help them.
Okay, but packed with everybody. Who are we supposed to
The
help?
democracy.
Well, not necessarily. Now think about this.
We're helping the people who are under attack.
Right, exactly. So that means that if everybody here is a country, and everybody here has to come to the aid of the Czech Republic. So Anita, Professor Cox, Nay, Gian, Kyle, Linda, Bajad, all you guys have to come on the side of Ian. And then the idea would be that if all of us were on the side of Ian, then Delaney wouldn't stand much of a chance. You guys get what I'm saying? And so that's the idea behind collective security. You guys get that? That if you attack one, you attack everybody, and you couldn't possibly win against everybody. You guys follow me here? The problem has to do with the American Constitution, because Angelo, if Delaney attacks Ian and you're the United States, what are you supposed to do?
Defend Ian?
Exactly. What's wrong with that in the United States?
Is that we're supposed to have unrestricted free trade?
Well, no, that's not it. Just think about who declares war in the United States? In
The
theory.
president?
No.
No,
That's-
Congress.
Congress, exactly. Congress has the war-making powers, right? So, but in this case, what we see is that Congress doesn't have anything to do with it. We're in a treaty, so Delaney attacks Ian, and we're drawn into this war without even Congress getting involved. You follow what I'm saying? So it's a threat to American sovereignty. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. Everything in the 14 points is going to be rejected by the Europeans. The only thing that Wilson will get out of it is the League of Nations, which is collective security. But the problem is going to be that because he didn't include Republicans were not going to be on board with what he did and are also going to be concerned about American sovereignty. And so the United States never ratifies the treaty. Okay, so the United States ends up making a separate treaty, and the United States doesn't even join the League of Nations because we've rejected the treaty. You guys follow what I'm saying? Okay, so that's going to be a kind of a defeat for the United States, all right? Let me just show you one last thing here, and then I'm going to let you guys go, right? But what happened at Versailles was that the winners got together, and they decided that they were going to divide up the world's empires. Okay, what was left of the Austro-Hungarian Empire and what was left of the German Empire. Okay, and what they did was they sat down at a table in Versailles and they drew a map, started drawing lines on a map, right? And the lines that they drew created countries that had not existed before, like Czechoslovakia, right? But their idea was, well, we can make a country out of Czechoslovakia just by drawing lines on a map, right? We can make a country out of Hungary or Romania or Yugoslavia, right? Or Syria, Iraq, Jordan, Palestine, Tanzania, Vietnam, right? Oh, we can go ahead and make countries out of these by drawing lines on a map. The problem was that creating a nation is much more difficult than just drawing lines on a map, right? One of the examples is going to be, for example, Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia is going to be torn apart after World War II into two different countries, the Czech Republic and the Slovak Republic, right? But then let's look at the Middle East here, right? In the Middle East, this is what's left over from the Ottoman Empire. Okay, Turkey becomes an independent country, theoretically democratic, but then we create new countries: Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, Iraq. Okay, so now what is Iraq? Iraq is actually had been ruled by the Ottoman Empire for 1,000 years, and it had never been a single country. It had always been three different areas. One was dominated by Shiites, one was dominated by Sunnis, and one was dominated by Kurds. And they didn't get along with each other. And that's why the Ottomans left them in their own separate areas. You guys follow what I'm saying? But now the people in the West come along and they draw a line on the map and say, okay, you guys are all Iraqis. Okay. How does that work out?
Not well.
Not well. Okay. And what happens then is that these groups are all squabbling with each other until a strongman like Saddam Hussein comes along and quashes all dissent, essentially, right? But it doesn't create a country. And then when the United States goes in, their expressed goal was to defend the Iraqi nation from dictatorship. The question, though, is what Iraqi nation? There was no Iraqi nation. Do you follow me here? And so the result was that the United States was defending a fiction based on the ignorance of history. It's a good idea for American policymakers to know history, don't you think? And this happens everywhere else too. This is going to be where they divide all the different divisions of the countries in Africa, for example, are based on the colonial reality rather than on the ethnic reality. And that's why there's so much unrest in Africa. You follow what I'm saying? Even to this day, right? And then also all the unrest in the Middle East comes out of the Versailles Treaty, right? So my argument is that the Versailles Treaty was one of the most destructive acts in history because it's created so much turmoil, so much bloodshed, and it continues today.